So the Pittsburgh Pirates are, they've had a very just monumental disaster this season with the 21-year-old fan falling 21 feet onto the warning track at PNC Park and all that. And I don't have the record at the moment, but they're not doing too well. They've won like 13 games and they've like lost like 24, but I'll get the exact numbers up in a moment when I get the chance. Let's see here. Pirates are dead last in the Central. Yeah, 14 games and 28 losses. That is not good. The Pirates the last opportunity that they had that they really came close to winning it all, excuse me, in was in 1992. 1992. I was not born then. And Barry Bonds was still playing baseball for them. And they lost to the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves go to the Series to go face the Toronto Blue Jays, which the Braves lose to. But no one really could have predicted that they would have had 20 losing seasons. We're not talking about them not just getting into the playoffs, but not even winning 82 games until 2013 with Garrett Cole. And um, and this team really had some monumental blows to it. Um, the Pirates really should be up there with the Penguins and the Steelers. They really should be, the one talked about mostly. Pittsburgh doesn't have an NBA team. Pittsburgh certainly has one of the best, if not the best stadium because you're out by the river, you know, but in this instance, it's like they are living in a van down by the river. If you get that reference, shout out to you. But this like they have an excellent ballpark. They've got great fans who have sucked up so much, not sucked up, wrong choice of words, that have just went through so much pain and turmoil and 71 win seasons, and it's like you're not getting over the hump, sort of thing. And when they finally won 82 games in 2013, it was like, and then they won 94 games and all that stuff. And Russell Martin and the pitch framing and everything of the sort, they finally were able to do it all. And honestly, they should have had more winning seasons, personally. In 92, they really should have found a way to pay Barry Bonds, and they didn't. And he played out the rest of his time in San Francisco. And Bonds are just not even on steroids would have certainly helped them at least get an 82 win season during the stretch of 92 to 2007. They certainly would have at least gotten that. Maybe not the playoffs, but at least they would have had maybe a winning season or two under their belt already. They would have had that during that 15-year span. Didn't happen, unfortunately. Um, then 2007, I believe it was 2007 or whenever it was, maybe it was 2006, but they did have the opportunity to draft Prince Fielder. They blew it for um, someone else whose name I can't remember, and probably for a good reason because don't remember who they drafted in his place, personally. But they had the opportunity to draft Prince Fielder. They blew that opportunity. Prince Fielder could have at least you know, given given them a head start on getting an 82 win season, didn't do it. In 2011 or 2010, Mike Trout was, you know, didn't even get drafted till the second round. They blew that. Looking back on that now, like every single team blew that. And and during his earlier time in Anaheim, he certainly proved why he was which was the best player in the game. And then could have made it even to 2015 or 2017 or whenever his contract, his tenure expired. But and then he goes and he's a free agent. At least you can get some time there and you can build up some wins. Did not do that. And what is going to happen with Paul Skeens when he goes to New York, when he goes to either Queens or the Bronx or LA or maybe he's got that there. I'm trying to think who else would take him. Marlins are not going to take him. Um, you know, would the Twins want to get in there, or would the Astros want to pay him? Maybe the Astros would want to pay him. They paid Verlander. At least did the they did do that. They did do that, but you know, Anaheim. I'm sorry, the Angels are not going to take him, but I think he's going to be either a Dodger, a Met, or a Yankee at this point because they seem to just be the ones to corner the market. Um, at this point, but they're going to lose Paul Skeens. McCutcheon is on his way out soon, and do I feel bad for the people of Pittsburgh? Yes, they haven't won a World Series since 1979. But in terms of sports records, they've won the Super Bowl in this century. They've won five Stanley Cups, I think, in this. No, no. My bad. They've won three Stanley Cups in this century. The Penguins have, and that's pretty much been there. They don't have an NBA team, but the Steelers do pretty well for what it's worth, mostly. But the Pirates really do have bad ownership. They are, this team really should be, drawing in fans. They should be, a hot ticket to get. And I mean, even Kansas City, who's a small market team, and they're looking for a new stadium now, but they have Bobby Wood Jr., they still have Salvi Perez. They're able to at least retain talent. Pittsburgh doesn't have it. The Pirates don't have it, and they need to be the ones to just get better. And if they have to, they should. There's no excuse. You know, if they had $1 billion owner, if they had a real owner that actually wanted to pay um a really good salary to players and actually go get talent, go get even a Cody Bellinger at this point, they could do that. They should do that. And I do think that the MLB needs to put in a salary floor so you can at least be in competition with each other. Because what the Dodgers are doing, $500 million right now, I'm not even sure if the Pirates even are paying, you know, even have a budget of 60% of that right now, paying that to their players. $500 million, to go get essentially one guy, one extra guy, and or or like a handful of people at this point, and they've deferred Shohei's salary, but Shohei's going to just get paid later and go win another World Series in 2025. That sounds pretty good. Wish Pittsburgh had that sort of thing. But I'm an Orioles fan, you know that. But the Pirates really should be, the more competitive team. They should be, you know, Philadelphia is the one that's been, the closest to winning a World Series for the most part. One Pennsylvania team has won it in this century, and that's the Phillies. It's not the Pirates, and the Pirates got the best stadium, in, you know, arguably in all of baseball, and it's hard to accept the fact that it took them over a decade in that stadium to even get to a playoff round. And you could say the same thing for the Marlins too. They've got they had the World Baseball Classic there, but no playoff games, you know, no World Series. It was all at um, you know, Sun Life Stadium, where the Dolphins used to play, um, now it's Hard Rock Stadium. But you know, you really should have retained more talent to get to that point. The Marlins um, are just not interested in paying players, and they'll just let a Jazz Chisholm go. They will let a Pudge Rodriguez go at some point. But I think that they should have held on to Miguel Cabrera. They could have really built a franchise around him, and they could have been that one to do it. They could have been could have had a true dynasty in Florida, but they didn't. But the Marlins didn't do it, and they could have kept Kutch on for longer, and he didn't have to go to the eastern side of Pennsylvania because could have stayed on the west. Pirates didn't do it, and the Pirates didn't want to pay Cole. They didn't draft Prince Fielder. They didn't draft Trout, and they didn't want to keep Bonds, and all because of greedy ownership. And I think that's killing the game more is that the Pirates are a perfect example of why you need at least a salary floor. Not a salary cap necessarily, but you at least need a salary floor. Um, Now the salary floor for a player is about 800 grand. I believe it's about 800 grand in the MLB. Like even if you're the worst player, don't worry, you're going to be making bank essentially. 800 grand personally. That sounds like a pretty good deal out of all of it. But I think that owners need to come in and they need to set like I don't know how much if you want to set it like at least at 500 million for your players um out of your I don't know like 32 guys or something if you want to get generous with that. And I guess you could also bring up some talent too, and you would also go get a Vlad Guerrero and go get a Cody Bellinger too, because you really could be that team. And if you don't want to, and the Pirates, the Pittsburgh Pirates fans deserve better. They deserve a winning baseball team, and but you're not getting it in Pittsburgh, and it's really a shame that every time that you go there, you're disappointed. And they've had a very rough start. They removed the tribute to, Roberto Clemente and I do feel bad for Pirates fans. I do think, but a weird thing is that had Roberto Clemente survived and never got into a plane crash, I guess 20 years later, he's more of a mentor to Bonds. I think that he would find a way to keep Bonds and actually really teach Bonds and maybe Bonds doesn't take steroids allegedly, you know, and he keeps it and he's actually helping out in the front office and at least they have a few more winning seasons under their belt. Um too and everything just works out well and he'd be like 58 or he'd be like 57. He'd be in his late 50s at that point, but I think he would be a great manager at that point. He actually would get some productivity done on the field personally. And I think that, you know, Pirates have had I think since 19 at least after I think 1972 sort of like maybe was the start of it wasn't the start of anything bad, too. I don't think that in bad luck in terms of that. I think, you know, it was just poor ownership from the 90s to essentially 2013, and they finally won it all in 2013. And it took them like 20 years to do it. That is That is tough too. I mean, like, and that's actually 20% of your time. And actually, I think that might be a little more. I'm gonna look up how long the Pirates have even existed in that sense. Okay, let me Google this. How long have the Pitts 1881. 1881. And I think it and that's and for a majority of their time, they've had a losing record. So all that time, um, okay, not a majority too, but like, but 20 consecutive seasons and is pretty bad. In 1881, 1881, and the Pirates have been historically bad. In fact, I'm gonna look this up on ChatGPT right now and see if I can even get that real quickly. ChatGPT. Please give me the standings for all the seasons that the Pittsburgh Pirates have existed as a baseball team. Searching the web. So 1909, 1960, and 1971. They did not, they could have won maybe another World Series with Roberto Clemente too. The seasons too, yeah. Um, Season by season. 500. I think that a majority of the time, like, let's even take it back to 1903. They, still good there. They've done, I do think that most of their, time they've like just not been good. I've seen so many, um, seasons where they just don't even win, um, 80 games at that point. Because I think, yeah, they don't like they come up short many times. They only hit 500 at times. They have more, I think historically they have more losing seasons than they you know than ever. And I think uh, for the longevity of the Pirates, they should have had more wins. I do think that the Pirates can maybe they could turn things around. I'm not certain of that, but one day they'll be a great baseball team. That'll do it for this video. I'm glad to be back recording once again. Take care. Peace out.